Now, Zainul Abidin was Kalam's father. That is his name. Now, look at that sentence. Yeah. This one, look at that. That's a subject. We are talking about Kalam's father, Zainul Abidin, and we have the verb here. Verb here was, and then Kalam's father. This sentence, it has a subject. Which is the subject? This is the subject, the Kalam's father, and here we have a verb here, was. So, the sentence has a subject, Zainul Abidin, and verb here expresses a complete thought. Zainul Abidin was Kalam's father. The full sentence expresses a complete thought. So, we call this as a simple sentence. Okay? Simple sentence. We also say this is the main clause. We can either say it's a simple sentence, this also we can say it is the main clause. That's what we are going to do today. Understanding the main clause. A simple sentence, it can be called main clause. In the following sentence, the predicate has more than one verb. Now, look at the second sentence now. So, you understood? Here is a subject, you have a verb, it is a simple sentence, main clause. So, when you know what is a clause, main clause, it has got a subject and verb. Subject, verb, just remember that much. I will put up another sentence for you. Abdul Kalam it's very simple, learn to understand. Abdul Kalam lived, okay, he lived in his ancestral house, okay. He lived, where did he live? In his ancestral house, which was old, which was old. Now, look at this sentence. Okay. This sentence has more than one verb. Okay. He lived in an ancestral home, and here lived was. In this sentence, you say Abdul Kalam lived. It's a complete thought. Abdul Kalam lived. Up to here, it's a complete thought. It is a sentence or it's the main clause. So, you say this Abdul Kalam lived, main clause, because it's got the complete thought. Then he says, in his ancestral home, does not have a subject or a verb. Just take alone this, in his ancestral home. It doesn't have a subject or a verb, but adds to the meaning of the first part of the sentence. So, we call this is a phrase, okay, meaning. Then it is a phrase which has, which was old. Which was old is a phrase, okay, which was old. It's got a subject which refers to the house, but is part that does not stand on its own. This is called the subordinate clause. Which was old? Which was old? The house. So, here you call this subordinate clause. Okay. Abdul Kalam lived. That's a main clause. Why? It has meaning of its own. It's got a complete thought. So, we call this as a main clause. Now, this in his ancestral home, it does not have subject or verb, but adds the meaning of the first part. So, what we call this? This is in his ancestral home. This is the phrase, this part. So, we have the main clause, we got the phrase. Then finally, we have which was old, which add to the meaning of the first part. So, it is a subordinate clause. You understood? We need to understand the sentence to pick out the phrases and the clause. What should the clause have? It must make complete sense. All right. Shall we go to another sentence? I will rub this, we go on to another sentence. In the beginning, first one, in the beginning. In the beginning, I thought he was cruel. Okay, here we have a sentence. In the beginning, I thought he was cruel. The second sentence, early in the morning, early in the morning, I wake up and sing. We have two sentences here. In the beginning, okay, they form a group by themselves. In the beginning, early in the morning, this in the beginning, early in the morning, they form a group of words by themselves. They make sense, but not a complete sense. In the morning, early in the morning, in the beginning, they make sense, but they do not make complete sense. They cannot stand by themselves. In the beginning, it cannot stand by itself. Early in the morning, those words cannot stand by itself, but they are part of a larger group of words which make complete sense. They have no subject or predicate. In the beginning, early in the morning, it does not have a subject, does not have a predicate of its own. Such a group of words, we call it phrase. So, in the beginning, early, we call it these are all phrases. Okay, so now you know how to pick phrases from a sentence. Okay. Now, I will give you some more sentences.